Hey y'all, hey y'all, hey y'all. So today's video I know is coming a little bit later than normal. It has been a very busy day today. We went to go visit a village out deeper into the country. It was like 2 hours out, and it was amazing opportunity. And in that, um, I was gifted some live crab that I'm going to be cooking while we have this conversation today. So they're still alive in here. As you can see, they've been trying to come through the plastic child. It's been a whole journey, okay? And I wanted to have this conversation with you all in regards to what has happened with Spirit Airlines. So, as many of you all know, Spirit Airlines ceased all operations at 3 a.m. Eastern Standard Time last night. Okay. And so, what that looked like was they closed down. And with them closing down, they literally stopped all flights. Okay. They literally stopped all flights. And there were some flights that they had to basically be grounded in the closest airport. So they were en route to their next destination and they had to be routed to their next airport. So as you all know, in Brazil, you can't cook with the regular water, so you got to use filtered water. But so what this looked like is that now almost 17,000 people are without a job. And there's been a lot of conversations around how it got to this point and how it's the government's fault because of the rise in gas, fuel, and all of that. And let's start by saying that because we're about to go deep in this conversation, okay? But the rise in gas fuel was actually just like the tip of the iceberg. Spirit Airlines, ooh, child, they crawling out for real. Oh, child. Okay, I gotta make sure that they're not gonna be able to get out. Oh, I wasn't expecting them to be crawling out like that, like that. Oh, let's go and keep this. Ooh, shit, he escaping. He escaping, y'all. He escaping. He escaping. Oh, shit. I wasn't expecting it to be like that. How am I going to keep them in this water? Oh, my gosh. I thought I knew what I was doing. Let me go and get this water ready. So, basically, this was like the tip of the iceberg, okay? As many people know, Spirit Airlines is a very cost efficient airline and they made travel very much so accessible for more people, okay? Travel by air is very expensive. We're not going to sit here and act like it's not because it very much so is, okay? And so, in that, Spirit being around with their low airfares, they were able to make travel very cost efficient for everyday, you know what I'm saying, people, for people who are not in just the wealthiest class, you know. They didn't market to people who were, you know what I'm saying, who had the most money and things of that nature. They marketed to people who, you know, wanted to fly and have access to other travel destinations without having those high, you know what I'm saying, airfare fees. Okay. So Spirit's problems began before the current, you know, rising oil prices and things of that nature that's been happening under the current administration. This started happening when JetBlue, it was the end of 2023, beginning of 2024, where JetBlue wanted to present a merger agreement with Spirit. So they wanted to buy Spirit Airlines. Okay. This was still during President Biden's time. Okay. Y'all, so I'm making my water right now. I'm adding in some garlic, then I'm going to add in some onions as well with some seasoning. And so This was still under President Biden's administration. And I'm mentioning that because, what we're going to get into is going to add into that. Because, like I said, this conversation is about to go deep into what's really going on below the surface and what has really happened. And so, what happened was when JetBlue put the deal on the table of them being able to buy Spirit Airlines to merge the airlines together. And we've seen this happen before. We saw this happen with Northwest Airlines. We saw this happen with AirTran, all of them, when like Delta and things of that nature. And I think Southwest acquired AirTran. I can't remember. But we've seen this happen in the past, right? Where airlines have been acquired by other airlines, okay? So what happened was Spirit Airlines was going through financial problems in 2023, 2024. So they were going to have this merger with JetBlue, which is another cost efficient airline. And when that merger was presented, there were lawsuits that were made by different governments. Okay. I believe the first one came from Massachusetts, I believe, or was it Maryland? It was one of them over in the East. A lot of the East Coast states had a problem with it, okay? So Massachusetts filed a lawsuit. Then I believe it was Maryland. Then you had the District of Columbia. Then you had California and a few other states as well joined in on this lawsuit, okay? And they stated that it was basically going to raise the prices of flights if this acquisition happened. So basically, what they were saying was that since JetBlue and Spirit were seen as being competitors, and JetBlue had a lot of hub spaces where Spirit was a competitor to them. And so if they were to buy Spirit, they would be able to raise the prices of those flights from those areas, okay? Because now they run the market. So they said that this was going to increase the flight prices of citizens if this was to happen. So they sued. They made a lawsuit with JetBlue and Spirit to keep this from happening. And the Department of Justice, now there were court appointed, government appointed like officials. So I believe one of the officials that was appointed was like appointed back during like Reagan's time or something. But there's a mixture of people who are, Democrats and Republicans. And this is why I don't like the aspect of it just being put. And now, do I like the Trumpster? No, I'm not a fan of a lot of politicians. I'm an independent, okay? I look at both sides. And so with this acquisition, it was like a bipartisan affair as to why they basically was against this merging happening. They said it was going to raise the prices. Now, they knew that Spirit was going through major financial crisis, okay? And what this looks like is that just like in the past, when other major airlines have been going through financial crisis, what typically happens? Another airline buys them out. That's quite normal for it to happen, okay? So if you're a government and you know what typically happens when an airline, they want to get bought out because they're struggling financially, you already know that if they don't get bought out by another or if they don't get bailed out, they're going to go under. Okay. This is a known fact. They knew what the consequences would be long term if this did not happen, but they blocked it anyway. Okay. And we're about to get to the point of what I'm making with this conversation because, like I said, this is the home of the deep thinkers, baby, and we go deep. Okay. So the merger didn't happen. Later that year, the end of 2024. So this actually happened right around the time of what elections. So before the Trumpster was in office, Spirit filed bankruptcy. Okay, I believe it was Chapter 11 bankruptcy that they filed at this time for them to be able to protect their current assets and the things that they had to pay out, things of that nature, because they were going through financial crisis. Okay. So at this time, the government is very much so aware that Spirit is currently going through financial crisis at this time. Okay. And we all know it doesn't take a rocket science to understand what happens when someone is going through a financial crisis with their bills and stuff, very similar to how, we have the sayings of robbing Peter to pay Paul, right? So after a while, that becomes to get very overwhelming, and it's hard to keep up with all of your bills, okay? It's hard to keep up with everything that you have to pay, everything that you have to do, okay? So it was basically, they knew that this time was going to come. And this is how I know that they knew that this time was going to come. And a lot of what's happening, it's very much so bipartisan, more it is just a Republican or a Democratic thing, okay? Because the ones who were going against the acquisition were primarily Democratic senators, things of that nature. One of the ones who was leading the cause, I believe, was Senator Warren. And they were saying really big that, oh, this is a big win for the Biden administration and things of this nature. They were gloating on that, okay? And so now where we're at now, okay? There are for sure rising prices when it comes to oil, fuel, things of that nature, okay? Jet fuel prices since 2024 have basically doubled with everything of what's been going on with, the war on oil, things of that nature. And I'm trying to keep this from being just on a blaming a particular, president, things of that nature, because this has happened before in the past with different presidents and different things that have happened. And it's not just a Democrat and a Republican thing, okay? It's just different locations, different reasons, things of that nature, okay? And that's where we're going to leave it at for right now. So, with the increase in prices, so think about how, say, if you're currently robbing Peter to pay Paul, okay, and your housing company tells you, oh, we're raising rent by double, okay, we're raising rent by double. Of course, you're now going to be in a financial state of, what do I do? I'm already at a place where I can't fully pay all my bills, pay all my employees, and still stay afloat with everything that is happening right now. Okay. So, with you understanding that that's happening, you're like, oh, I need to file bankruptcy. So they got into their filing aspect to be able to protect as much as they could so that they could still be able to pay their employees as well as handle their debts and things of that nature. Okay. And so what came from that was the government said, you know what? We can look and see if we can create a buyout deal for you to help you get recovered in this in these times right now. Okay. I may need to add a little bit more butter. We're going to look and see if we can, have some recovery funds and things of that nature for you. Okay. So what happened from that is that the government returned back with a deal. It was like a $500 million, so a $500 million buyout deal. Well, not a buyout, sorry. Just a deal, just the same thing of what President Obama did with the car industry when he, saved them from, the financial ruins and stuff that they were in. But the key thing of what happened this time around is that the United States wanted to have control of 80% of basically the money, the profits, and the operating systems. They wanted 80% control, okay? Which means they basically wanted to create a government funded, basically, airline. So this will be a airline that's primarily owned by the government, okay? Because right now the government doesn't just own any particular airline or anything, okay? Now, of course, we have various officials and things of that nature who have stock in different airlines, and we're going to talk about that with the stock manipulation, because there was a stock manipulation that happened with Spirit when it was first announced that they may be going under. And so what happened was, in that time of them announcing that they may be going under and that the government's going to look and see if they can bail them out, those who invested in Spirit at that time saw a 10-time increase from their investments, their stock investments from that movement, okay? Because it was assumed that Spirit would take the deal. Well, Spirit saw that deal with the 80%, and they're just like, yeah, no. You're basically trying to take the power away from us as a company, as a business, and you want this to be a government, funded airline. Now, the thing is that if they would have took the deal, those reasonable flight prices would have still been there, okay? But the thing of what's really going on below the surface is that over time, the United States has been losing money. And they've been losing money for the lack of tourism coming into the country. And they've been losing money because they see every time Americans leave the country and go to other countries, they're spending their money in other countries. Now, the primarily people who use Spirit, and this is why Spirit was a target and Spirit was the easy target, because they already knew that they were in financial ruin. So they knew that it would be easy to either get them to play ball so that they can control part of the money. This is something that happened before the Trump administration. I'm trying to let y'all know this is something that has been planned over the course of the past at least 5 years, okay? And so when they know that the primarily people who really spend a lot of money through Spirit and use it are those who have ties to the Caribbean, okay, to the islands. They go back to visit their families. Okay, it was a lot of one-way flights and things of that nature from Florida. Okay, they go back to visit their families. They send money to their families. People were taking their vacations there and things of that nature. Okay, the money was leaving the United States. The United States is looking at what are different ways that we can keep money here. Okay, so if we can't make money off this airline, what can we do to make it harder for people to travel and leave here to keep that money here? So very similar to the times when Black Americans were unable to visit certain vacation spots and things of that nature around the country. Okay, so we had places like Idlewild, for example, which was really big. And I know there's more than one Idlewild, but the Idlewild that I know is the one that's located in Michigan. And Idlewild was a very big vacation spot for Black Americans to go visit because they weren't welcomed anywhere else to be able to visit. Okay. And so what's being created right now is a sense of, because Spirit is gone and their competitive pricing, other flights are going to be more expensive. Okay. Which means less people are going to be leaving the United States. Less people are going to be leaving the United States. And if less people are leaving the United States, that means they're keeping their money here. They're keeping their money here in the United States. Okay? Which is what the government wants. They want to keep more money here than to have money leaving. So very similar to, we have various bills and policies that have been made over the years to where you have to create the problem in order for these things to have validity to them. Okay, so the problem was created. Now the solution is let them go under. Let them go under. That's going to keep more money inside of the country. Okay. So what does that look like moving forward? It does look like more money is going to be staying here. It does look like less people are going to be leaving the country as much as they were prior. Okay. It also looks like flight prices are going to be increasing. The next up that they're going to be targeting is going to be either Frontier or JetBlue. Now, I do feel that the United States do have some type of plan where they want to have some type of control with the flight travel industry. I also see trains and buses, of course, having a shift of an impact as well with everything of what's been going on. But long story short, this is a plan that was set up a long time ago. Okay. It's a plan that was set up a long time ago, and an opportunity just needed to be presented. And Spirit happened to be that opportunity. Now, I do feel it's going to have an impact, but I don't feel like the impact is going to last longer than a couple years. There's going to be some shifts of what happened. We may even see someone like um what's that man name? Elon Musk. You may even see something like him creating an airline to take the place. There's going to be another airline that pops up over time. But this is a major loss for those who have utilized Spirit in the past for their travels, for their international travels. Y'all want to see the listen. I don't know if y'all can see them moving. Oh, they stopped moving since I did that. Oh, they moving again. Can y'all see it? I feel like if I open it, they're gonna start crawling out again, and I don't want to do that until it's time for me to put them inside of the water. And I don't know if the water is hot enough. I didn't realize that my Airbnb doesn't have tongs for me to use. So I'm gonna have to use this like scooper thing to get it to go in there. Y'all want to see me do this? Look, I got my cinnamon at the door, y'all, because baby, I don't play. I don't play. Y'all know the first of the month was yesterday, okay? And then also just the fact since like there's an opening at the bottom of the door, I don't want no bugs to feel like they can find a home in here, okay? Oh, child. I want to try to put one in here. Y'all pray for me. Woo! Oh, hold on now. Oh shit. How am I supposed? They said grab them from the back. Okay. Ah! Ah! Woo! Y'all see him? Go back in there. Oh, y'all, they trying to come out, child. Oh shit. Is the water hot enough? I think it is because well, he trying to move, but oh shit. I don't know if y'all can see him. Hold on. Okay, yeah, he ain't moving no more. Okay, I guess it's hot enough for me to be able to put him in there. I'm only gonna do like a few. That scared me. Shit. They said grab it from the back so that they can't pinch me. Get your ass back in there. Oh, this is scary. I think I'm about to freeze these motherfuckers. Oh shit. It's about to be some crabs loose in the damn apartment. Oh my gosh, this is eyes. Oh my gosh. Get in there. Y'all, this is my first time ever doing this. This is an experience, child. Oh, this is an experience. Have any of y'all ever cooked live crab before? I think I may stick to the 3 and just freeze these, honey, because they already washed them. So they washed them for me when I was at the village, and it was so interesting because they came from a swamp basically. And so they washed them um before I took them because they were like really really dirty and stuff, and baby, I don't know how I was going to be able to clean them, but oh, this was interesting. This was interesting. But so when it comes to Spirit, although I didn't fly Spirit, I flew Spirit one time when I was in college. And I'm gonna be honest, I was nervous because the plane was really, really loud. The plane was so loud I was unable to like hear my neighbor as we were talking to each other. But I'm not saying that's like all their planes. This was back in the day, okay? So I'm not going to, put any type of like negative connotation on them as an airline. But I just chose not to fly with them because, it was just my preference. But I know a lot of people who did, and it was very affordable for them. So I understand how this is negatively affecting the people. And so we're gonna watch this play out. We're gonna watch this play out. Y'all, this thing's still moving, so maybe my water not hot enough. Y'all see it's still moving? I'm thinking my water, I'm up here like I wasn't cutting onions, child. I think my water may have not been hot enough, but baby, I didn't learn my lesson. That was an experience for sure. Okay. But y'all let me know your thoughts and things of that nature down below inside of the comments. And I'm going to see you on the next video.